What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. I am joined by Andrew Parr, as always, on Best Served Paragon, and this is Best Served Podcast 226. And we are focusing on restaurants are worth saving. This is part 2 of 6. Part 1 was episode 210, so go back to that one. And today we're talking about who are we trying to save? We're going to talk about the people, the humans in the restaurants that are absolutely our most valuable asset. They are underrepresented so often, and we want to really understand the struggle and the opportunity that we have to really empower and focus on the people who are worth saving. So Paragon Pillars, let me lay it down for you a little bit. Paragon Pillars is an idea that we have. It's a roadmap to an equitable, profitable, sustainable restaurant model. It was born out of this idea of, can we be an industry where 65-year-old line cooks get to retire, get to put 2.5 kids through college, get the gold watch and the pension, all these American dream ideals that so many other jobs, careers, industries invest in to create that opportunity. And it's just not the reality in ours. And so we believe there are two outcome goals that can map to that. Number one being, we need to invert the 73% turnover rate into 75% employee retention and satisfaction. And that's going to come in play heavily today, because we believe that if you empower your people, if you motivate them, if you invest in them, this is the truest opportunity that restaurants have to survive and thrive. And number two is to create a financial model that allows for 19% net profit as the industry standard. And when 7%, say, is the standard currently, we have a big mountain to climb. Yet we believe if you stop looking at those 112, 140 line items in your budgets as costs, rather opportunities for partnerships with all of those different companies and entities that we see today, are recognizing that they need to invest in restaurants more than ever. Restaurants are fundamentally the pillars of both culture and commerce in every community. You're going to hear me say that again and again and again, because I believe it. And clearly it's true, because we see the importance of restaurants. Essential workers does not even begin to cover it. They are fundamental to the fabric of, again, culture and commerce. The way that we look at everything goes through what we kind of call this why to when framework, where we really focus on why and who before what and how. And we take you through this process, a 6-step process. Why we get out of bed in the morning to do what we do. We need to start there, because when it gets hard, and it always gets hard, that's what's going to get you through it. Why you do what you do, who it is that we serve, who's in the trenches, who's gotten us to this point, that human capital, the people. It's always the relationships that are what we remember, and we really want to focus on that. Then we talk about what are our offerings, very specifically, how, our process, how we bring that to market, where, the physical location in which we exist, and when, the way that we manage timelines and execution. And the sequence of these is very important, because we get so caught up in the minutia of what we do and how we do it, and thinking that that's what separates us. That's our point of differentiation. That's what makes us. And the reality is that is the extension. It's the manifestation of the why and the who. That's what we believe. That's what we look through. So when Eater wrote this article, American restaurants are worth saving, here's how. And there's a link to that article in the comments. Check that out. When we read this article, it was fascinating. There are 20-something contributors to this that really broke down for them the reasons that restaurants are worth saving, and the vulnerabilities that we're seeing play out right now, that we need to really reconcile with, that we need to have a serious conversation with ourselves about. And so we wanted to take that article and put it through our filter, put it through our lens of that why to when framework. That's what we're doing. This is part 2. We're going to get into who. All right, that was a long intro. I appreciate you guys sticking with me, but I think it was important for me to set the table. Andrew, take us through, just give people an idea of what they can expect from this article, kind of as a whole, but more specifically, what we saw when we were talking about the humans, the human experience within this article itself.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about this article is that it's very forward thinking, and asks a lot of different people from different types of restaurants, different types of communities, all different situations, when you look forward, what does this, the restaurant industry look like for you?
Right.
Or what would you hope that it looks like, not only for you, but for everybody that's involved in the industry? And so I think this piece that we're going to explore in greater depth today really is taking a look at who are the people that make the engine go,
Yes.
and how do we best take care of them?
So true. It's so important. We just churn through people so much. We have these we call people bodies. I just need a set of hands. I need bodies. It's like you might as well be at the morgue. Like there is no soul and humanity in that. And then all at the same time, we call each other family, right? We're this dysfunctional family. It's Band of Rebels, Island of Misfit Toys, Pirates on the Pirate Ship, and we need to reconcile those two things because we have to invest in the longevity of people in this industry, because otherwise it costs us so much money, right? What are the numbers we have currently? $6,000 to replace a line level, $13,000, $14,000 for a manager, right? If $6,000 worth of food walked out the door, you would lose your shit. You would stop everything and you would investigate and not allow that to happen ever again. Yet we allow people to walk out the door every single day. And it's easy to blame them. They're not as committed. They're always looking for the next thing. It's a transient business as it is. These are all potentially true. Yet what are you going to do? Take that as mantra, take that as dogma, or are we going to push back against 65% of restaurants close in the first year? That turnover rate is 73%. We have an opportunity to actually invest so that is no longer an industry standard. And even further, 65-day average employee lifespan, it's asinine. It's arcane. It needs to change. So that's what we're going after. So we have 3 different contributors to this article that wrote things that were really compelling to us, that really spoke to, again, that human experience. And we kind of wanted to bring these to the forefront one at a time. We're going to kind of tell you what they said specifically, some of the stories contextually that we feel kind of speak to the point that they're making. And then we also are going to be giving you lots of different data points, information, statistics. There are tons of links in the comments that you can go down the rabbit holes yourself a little bit. So let's start with that. Francesca Cheney, owner of Soul Sips in Brooklyn, had something pretty profound to say. We wanted to start with that. So Andrew, if you can just read what they said and then let's dig into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what she said was being a little bit more holistic in thinking about how tedious and physical and also mentally draining it is to be in the kitchen culture, restaurant culture, sometimes even for 7 days straight for some people. I'm looking forward to seeing a care-based approach on how we support people that are working in this industry from the ground up.
I mean, that is so people's experience. We have this tough guy mentality, and it's so strange because it's a strength. There's strength in the ability to overcome anything and to galvanize it as a team. Absolutely. Yet we allow that strength to become a deteriorating weakness when it becomes so systemic in the way that we do things versus us, pulling up our bootstraps and like making shit happen. We need to find the balance in that. That's the word that I always come back to. And you've heard me say this before. There was a almost 7-year span where I did not take one single sick day, and I was sick as a dog plenty of times, but I was so stubborn that I would not take that sick day off. And it was this, I am impervious. I wanted to be like, I don't know, the Cal Ripken of restaurants. Yet what I was doing in part was, one, just trying to be unbeatable and never show weakness to my team. That was one thing. Absolutely. That was a weakness in me. The second part is I also allowed other people to take sick days and covered for them because they were sick and I wanted to be the good guy. Yet what I was actually doing, what I recognize now, is I was perpetuating the idea that to be the leader, you had to do it this way. And so other people were burning themselves out. And I eventually burned myself out too, because we just were putting this fake ideal on a pedestal that is not, again, sustainable. In the short term, you got to do what you do. In the long term, it always catches up with the individual and the business. That's what I took away from that, which I thought was really important. Some of the numbers behind this the churn rate is unbelievable. We mentioned the 73% turnover rate, but let's dig into a couple numbers that you found that really speak to this systemic issue.
Well, I think it's really interesting too, is that really often managers are working 9 to 11-hour shifts and often 6+ days a week. And to the point that you just made, if the managers are the leaders on our teams who are charged with taking care of the people that make the operation go, right? And that's what being a leader is. Not being in charge, it's taking care of the people who are in your charge, right? And so you've I got that from Simon Sinek, so of course it's good.
Simon's the best.
But it goes back to that analogy, right? Like, you can't water the plants if you have no water in the can, right? And so you are, as that watering can, you have to do right by yourself and by everybody else around you to make sure that there's always water there. And working 6.5 days a week, every single week, week in and week out, is not going to get you there.
It just will not. And so there was some numbers that we specifically pulled. You want to pop a couple banners on that you thought were kind of compelling?
Yeah. So here's one that's really pretty interesting. Over 10% of line level employees have worked for 10 or more restaurants. And you and I were chatting briefly about this before we went live. And one of the things that we do during this segment is we're fallible. We talk about the mistakes that we've made. Yeah. And I think that, you're looking at all of these resumes, and it was always super, for me at least, automatic. If people were working 2, 3, 5, 6 months at a job repeatedly, I didn't even call them, right? Because they're job hoppers.
Yes.
Right. And where we need to dig deeper and ask that next level question is not just they're job hoppers, let's dismiss them. It's, why did they leave this many restaurants? What was the root cause of that? And what do I do in my restaurant that would allow for a stronger culture, a better work environment, and the opportunity for that job hopper to actually hang their hat and call it a home for a long time?
It's symptom versus cause, right? We're trying to solve the symptom, and looking at the symptom, we're looking at as that weakness for the employee. It's potentially the weakness of the restaurant, and moreover, the weakness of the system is what we're really articulating here. These different systematic ways that we approach the churn, because the turnover rate is so high, because people are so transient, we then just allow that to be the industry standard. And that's what we're pushing back against. Yeah. That system and the industry standard, that's what's broken. Your restaurant is fueling that, yet you are also just trying to do what you think is right and try to survive. And the people are trying to just figure out how to get through the day, how to pay their bills, how to do something that has meaning, how to learn and develop as individuals and as part of this kind of brigade system that we have, which again is the system is flawed. And so that's what we're really going at. All right. So I want to go on to the next one. We have Saru, who talked about, and they're both the president of One Fair Wage and director of the Food Labor Research Center. And so again, a couple links to find out more about One Fair Wage, as well as Saru's work. So let's read that quote.
Absolutely. I think workers will be paid and treated as the professionals that they are, and that will result in a better bottom line for employers, less turnover, and a better dining experience for customers. It will be a world in which everybody gets a full, fair, livable minimum wage. Nobody's living off of tips as part of their base wage, and that dramatically reduces sexual harassment in the industry and racial inequality. It will mean that the industry would have moved away from the legacy of slavery and toward a future of stability and equity for everybody.
I mean, that's heavy. We think about tips as a way to acknowledge a better experience, or for the consumer to kind of have influence on the final financial transaction. Yet it is also a form of control, right? That you are at the mercy of both the restaurant and the system not investing in you, and potentially the end consumer investing in you. The amount of anxiety and stress that goes into the system is immense. And then you mentioned just the things of social inequity, of racial inequity, of sexual harassment, that now you are holding somebody's financial well-being in your hand is far too much power for us to wield so frivolously, I think, is what it comes down to. So I really, really appreciate that statement for sure. And so again, kind of thinking about some of the numbers and the ways that you see that play out, kind of where did you see that, and where are you kind of connecting those dots, Andrew?
So really, really interesting point of view here. So in the state of Colorado, minimum wage right now is $12 an hour. Obviously, that's going to go up as we head into 2021, but it's $12 an hour right now. And according to MIT's living wage calculator, the living wage for one adult with no children in the city of Denver is $13.87 an hour. So if you do the math at $12 an hour, assuming that you can even get 40 hours a week for 52 weeks,
right,
you're at $24,960 for the year. At $13.87, that math comes out to $28,849. So if you compare what our minimum wage is and what MIT says that it should be to live, and again, we're not even debating what quality of living you're getting at 28, 29 grand in Denver, but there's a built-in almost $4,000 shortfall right now, the way the numbers line up.
And I mean, just that already puts you in a position to be, one, in debt, second, to be working multiple jobs, which, look, I've worked multiple jobs before. We've all done it. There's a moment in time that you need to put your head down and work. Completely understand that. We're talking about the sustainability of it. We're talking about people's ability to work with you for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. That is going to be the metrics that we are measured upon to know if this is an industry for true professionals, we talk about a lot, versus just it's a job for now until you get a real job. And we have to get away from this. We cannot allow it. It will be part of the reality for some people that they're working this job as they go through college. Absolutely. Yet we need to find and retain the most talented people. And we just see them. They're leaving. They're leaving in droves. And side tangent, tune in to on Wednesday of this week, and every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, noon Mountain Time, for our channel series called Best Served Tableside, where we're actually, for the month of October, going to be speaking every episode with 3 different individuals who have left the industry, from cooks to bartender, servers, and going into different facets. So every single week of the month of October, you'll be able to track people's journeys, because I think it's important. It is. It's important for us to understand why somebody would get into this industry, more importantly, why they would leave, and what can we do to retain such passionate and talented people that we say are the foundation of this industry, yet they're leaving. And that is a huge vulnerability for restaurants. So I really, really appreciate that. All right. Was there anything else that kind of touched on Saru's comment?
Yeah, I think that's the big push. And like you said, when we put up the banner, over 50% of line level employees are unlikely to stay in the industry. And that comes from a really great piece that National Restaurant Association's Educational Foundation did with a workforce study. And we've got the link for that in the comments as well. Yes. But I mean, unlikely, over 50%. I mean, that's just an unbelievable number to get through.
It's staggering. If we knew nothing else, if we spent time and effort, money, resources to be able to get to the root of that, imagine the number of people that would stay in the industry. And it's what we're working towards. I could go on a whole nother soapbox. We have to change it.
Yeah.
We have to create a new opportunity for everybody who wants to be part of this industry. We need to start whatever industries that they're going to, and we're going to find out a lot more about that. I want to create a model for us, and that's what the Paragon Pillars and our Y to Win framework is working towards, so that not only do we not lose them initially, anyone we have lost, we can bring back. And hell, everybody that they're working with at whatever career they found, I want them as well. I want to find the most talented and passionate people that have always had a little bit of an interest, always kind of like cooking, but didn't think it was a real career for them. I want them. I want all of them, because that's the way that we're going to build this equitable, profitable, sustainable model. All right. Sola from Bon Appetit had something great to say. We're going to wrap with their quotes. Give us that.
Yeah, absolutely. And here it is. We need to totally redesign the way we think about service and compensation. I would love it if there was a world where all the porters and dishwashers had health insurance. If we could just get the diner accustomed to what that actually looks like in terms of menu prices. And here we go. Dining out ethically means you're going to be paying a lot more than you ever thought you would. There are hidden costs to that hamburger, that unpaid, invisible labor. I want to see a world where working in a restaurant is given respect and you get health insurance and you make a living wage. It would be great if they could be paid what they actually contribute to society, which is so much. I mean,
that's it. I mean, that is
huge.
like the statement of the century for restaurant people.
Absolutely. And
read the last
look,
part again. I need people to stay on this for a second. Read that last part again. The amount that they get paid as
yeah, it would
pertaining to
be
their contribution.
it would be great if they could be paid what they actually contribute to society, which is so much.
That goes back to that fundamentally the pillars of culture and commerce. Essential worker does not even begin to cover it. And not it would be great. It is mission critical. It is necessary. It is absolutely what has to happen, full stop. Not great, not pie in the sky, not it'd be nice to have that. If we do not do that, we're losing track of why it is that we create culture, why it is that we thrive within communities, that we're looking for our tribe, that the people, the crazy people, yes, but the people in this industry are so ingrained in the fabric of that community. You cannot separate the restaurant industry from the community. It would not exist. There is no community without the restaurant community. And so we have to invest in that. And I really appreciate that, which leads me to always throw up the most important banner that we have, the dishwasher. They talked about the dishwashers, the porters, and all of them. The dishwasher is the most important person in the restaurant. And if the restaurant is one of the most important linchpins in your community, that means the dishwasher should be one of the most celebrated people in your community, because the dishwasher, their work touches every single guest. And if you have a great dishwasher, you ask anybody in a restaurant, they are like gold, and we have to take care of them. There are absolutely opportunities for us to take care of them. And just because so many of us, like myself, started in the dish pit, that when I was 17 years old, and so many of us have that experience, that it seems like something that you start out as or you ascend to. Or talking about the racial inequality, well, they're from Mexico and don't speak very good English, and so we can pay them less money and they'll work twice as hard and never be ambitious enough to move up within our system. And so they're just stuck there because that's the job that they're lucky to have. That's the social and racial stuff that we need to cut out of the equation. Some of the most important lessons I've learned in my life have come from dishwashers, because they didn't overthink it and they just were pure sense of responsibility. And they were so grateful and motivated for the opportunity that they have. And we forget that all the time. So dishwasher, the most important person in a business, that is the most important in your community. And I urge all of us, if you go to a restaurant regularly, find out the name of the dishwasher. They matter.
And I'll tell you what, the restaurants that I worked in that had the highest level functioning kitchens, everything ran through the dishwasher, right? Whether it was Jaime, whether it was Salvador, that person was the linchpin for communication. That was the person that everybody went through that needed to get something from the management team, and those were the highest functioning kitchens.
I could not agree more. I would love a system where entry level pay is higher for a dishwasher than any other line level. And people go, wait, I'm a really skilled line cook. You're right. And the dishwasher is still the most important person in the building. Imagine that. I want everyone to feel like they have this strong livable wage. So I'm not trying to attack your wage if you're a line cook. What I'm saying is that is a really hard, unbelievably important job. And we need to invest in it as such. An important, valuable position in any other industry is highly invested in because it's valuable and important. And so I think we kind of forget about that sometimes. There was several things that I remember doing that weren't enough. They were not enough, yet I always was focused on it. One, I was really good at running the numbers to the point where our dishwashers would get bonuses. So our entire staff was bonused, and the dishwashers, for a quarter would get a $200 Visa gift card. It's not much, yet the look on their face, both of what they knew they could spend that money on and the recognition and acknowledgement was selfishly, I maybe got more than $200 of value of handing that to them. So I think that was one important thing. There was also the dishwashers, whoever the chef on duty was for that evening, cooked a meal for them. Not leftovers, not the fish that you threw in an extra order, a real meal. It was so important to the point where the line cooks and other people got jealous. That was what we wanted. We wanted the acknowledgement of them. And then the third, any line cook who's worked for me, if you did not take the blue tape off of your delis or your containers and stack them neatly in your bus tub, you were washing those dishes. There was no piling them in there, no not taking the stickers off. So I don't know, that those were just a couple of the things that I know people in restaurants right now are going, yep, we do that. Or no, you know what we do? Because we recognize internally that dishwashers are so important. We have to invest in them on paper as well.
Absolutely.
Man, and that was great. Did we miss anything?
There's just one other thing that I wanted to talk about really quickly. This comes out of that study that was done as well. And this is just, again, crushing. Only 34% of restaurant employees strongly agree that a restaurant job is a good job to have. I mean,
how do you even
barely a third. Barely over a third of the population.
Yeah, it's just that's the root cause. That's what we need to get to, which I think is so important. Actually, our friend Katie Fisco, who is one of those unsung hospitality heroes, who I'm so excited. October 11th, Sunday, October 11th, 2 p.m. Mountain Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Mountain Time. I'm so excited I can't speak. Katie is going to be on, because Katie is featured on the back page in the Kitchen Culture Q&A of the new Dining Out magazine that just launched, issue 1, and Amanda Faison is curating that. Amanda and I are going to be doing a series called Best Served Loud, and in these volumes, we're going to be highlighting the people on the back page of that, who we call unsung hospitality heroes, who we are helping to cultivate that list. And so Katie is the first feature. I'm so excited to talk to you, Katie. And that's exactly it. We have to get to the root problem. And the root problem is things like this, that people working in the industry don't even think it's a good job. What chance do you have to retain them? What chance do you have for them to show up on time and do the best job possible? They're already telling you that for them, it's just a placeholder. It's just filling time and space for them right now. That's the vulnerability of the industry. That's what we have to change. So any parting thoughts, Andrew, before we let people go?
No, it's, we talk about this. We cannot be looking at making incremental improvements right now. We need a whole new deal.
That's it. We cannot keep putting different color lipstick on the same pig and expect, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Yep. We've been doing that. And look, it's not finger pointing at you because I've done it. You've done it, Andrew. We've all done it. We've just, you get in the system and it chews you up and it spits out the same result again and again and again. And there are plenty of people who have thrived. There are plenty of businesses that have done well. There's plenty of people that have worked for 20 years plus. They are outliers to the decimal of a degree. And what we want to see is that the industry standard gets broken and rebuilt into something that is, again, actually equitable, profitable, and sustainable. And we think that's the opportunity, and that's what we're going to keep working towards and highlighting. So once again, this is part 2 of this series. Go back to episode 210, where we talk about the why we do what we do in this industry. And next week, on Monday, we will be speaking once again on this issue. We'll be talking about kind of what it is we do in restaurants, what it is that's on menus that might be shifting, that we need to look at, that we need to approach. And again, we'll take you through this whole why to win framework through the lens of this Eater article that once again is in the comments, and you will see lots of links in the comments. Go check them out. There's things that just will get you thinking and hopefully give you an opportunity to take some action, and tune in back with us and connect with us. We want to know what your experience is. We have lots of opportunities to try and share those, and hopefully we can bring some of the things that are important to you to light. Once again, Best Served Podcast 226. We appreciate you all as watching, as always for tuning in.